Have California politicians made it too easy for hit and run drivers to get away with a light sentence? Coming up, we'll tell you about a tragedy and how we're trying to pass Austin's Law in the state of California to fix the problem. All that and more. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we have a problem in this state. California politicians are, well, light on criminals. They coddle criminals. They give just a slap on the wrist. Meanwhile, victims of crime suffer and they seek justice that never is delivered. Well, I think it's time to do something about that. And every tragedy, as as painful as it is, can have a silver lining in terms of improving public policy so that future victims are not produced. Here's a Channel 10 story recently. Man sentenced to over 5 years in prison for Thanksgiving Day 2023 hit and run death of motorcyclist in Campo. And here we have the sad story of Austin Spears, who was the victim of that hit and run accident. Gary Baker, 46 of Campo, did plead guilty to the hit and run that killed Austin. But family members say that the punishment does not fit the crime, that we need to improve the sanction against hit and run drivers. The accident involved Austin on his motorcycle and Baker on his Jeep. The Jeep drifted across the double yellow lines, crashed into the victim on the motorcycle. Baker left the scene and claimed that he had simply hit some rocks. But officers actually found pieces of Austin's motorcycle at Baker's home. This was not just a traffic accident, it was an attempt to evade accountability. Current California law does not provide for effective sentencing in grotesque cases like this. And that's why, if I am in the legislature, one of my first laws will be to introduce something I'm going to call Austin's Law, to upgrade the penalties for hit and run drivers who knowingly are trying to evade their responsibility for causing serious injury or death to victims. Joining me on our show today is the girlfriend of Austin, Aubrey Pinkston. Aubrey, thanks for stopping by, and my heartfelt sympathy to you and your family and Austin's children for your loss. When you found out about the accident and police officers began their investigation, tell us about what you had to go through just to find the person who was guilty.
I actually spoke to him before I got to Austin at the scene. So he was parked about right around the corner when I was on my way to Austin with my children, and I thought that's where Austin was actually at. And I got out of my vehicle and I'm screaming, "Where is he?" And he actually spoke to me and said, "Oh, the bike, it's up the road." And so from that point, I knew he knew right away that it was a bike that he had hit. But then he had fled, and I got to the scene. You can just tell the bike wasn't just laid down. Austin didn't just crash. You could see the severe damage was from a hit. And that's when we started going to social media,
So
posting about
he
it.
looked you straight in the eye.
Hmm.
He looked you
Looked
straight in
me
the
straight in the
eye,
eye and said, "The bike,
when you
it's up
said,
the road."
where's my boyfriend? And he said, oh, there's a
Hmm.
bike down there.
Yep, 100%.
And so he fled the scene, and police
Yep,
officers did find that he was responsible. Um,
correct.
when you went to court and heard that the sentence would be 5 years, what was your reaction?
I was heartbroken because I knew the hit and run causing death, the max is only 4 years for that. But there was multiple evidence showing that he was intoxicated. But the fact they got him 10 hours later was the reason why we couldn't stick the DUI. And that's why he ran, because he knew he was intoxicated and knew he would get more time than just a hit and run causing death. And that's why he ran.
How do you have the suspicions on an intoxication? Is it because of the interaction you had when you stopped initially looking for Austin?
No, actually, his girlfriend on the day of Thanksgiving left at 3 p.m. that day, said he wasn't drinking, and then he at 4:03 sent her a picture of a half drink bottle of Hennessy on top of the Jeep, and it stated, "I'm smarter than you." And then the accident happened at 5:26 that, or 5:30, 5:23 that day. Yeah. Girlfriend, when she got home at midnight that evening, she tried waking him up and said he reeked of alcohol, and he even admitted in to the authorities that he was drinking that day. But the fact that we can't prove it if it was before or after the accident, we weren't able to stick the DUI.
With a DUI related fatality, the punishment is much more significant than 4 years. In fact, they can
Correct.
get up to 20 years in prison in the state of California. So this is a significant disparity. What
Right.
would you like to see me put in Austin's law? What sort of changes in state law and penalties and sentencing would you like to see in memory of Austin?
I truly believe if we could make it like 10 minimum, no below that, I feel like somebody would realize I have a chance of not serving 15 years in jail. And I'm hoping because if they would have stopped, he could have called 911 a lot sooner, and it could have saved Austin's life. And so I'm hoping to raise them death if you are found guilty. And I'm also hoping he has two priors in Texas. They're all DUI related. And in 2021, he almost hit a pedestrian, but we weren't allowed to use those in California. So I would like to be able to use against the criminal here. That's why he ran from Texas, because he knew Denver going to flee state to state to state. So I'd like other states to be able to be used.
So those are two very meaningful changes in state law. One would be to instruct the criminal justice system to incorporate into their investigation and their presentation of evidence the pattern of behavior of drunken driving, and if they
Right.
have priors in other states, that should be incorporated in the state of California into the investigation and possible prosecution. And then, secondly, obviously, increasing that maximum sentence, moving it from the 4 year cap, and giving prosecutors discretion and the judge discretion to impose a larger sentence. Um, in the sentencing, were prosecutors, did they express, or did the judge express um, frustration at the fact that the sentence would be capped at the lower amount of time served?
You could see on his facial expression when we were speaking at the sentencing that if he had more, that Gary Baker pled to felonies. He had no choice years for sentencing, but you could see he ultimately would have totally given more if he could have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the law needs to be changed for two reasons. One, the punishment needs to fit the crime, and particularly, when you have evidence that someone is likely to be intoxicated in the incident, and that they only fled because they were trying to avoid that more stringent penalty.
Right.
You can't give them an incentive to flee. Hey, because this gives you time to sober up and gives you a better chance to avoid, take the hit and run versus driving while intoxicated. Um, and so,
Right.
for the purpose of justice, we've got to make sure that the cap is increased, and the inclusion of prior intoxication is included in sentencing. But on top of that, you make a good point. What if there is a victim who could be saved if the accident's reported? And the perpetrator decides, well, I'm not going to report because then I might be given a drug test or an alcohol test and be given a stronger sentence. So I'd rather, not report it. And well, if the person dies, too bad. Again, we're talking about the ability to put sanction on the table to encourage people to do the right thing and report the accident so someone can get life-saving help. For these two reasons, Aubrey, I am proud to author this bill and work with you and your family, Austin's family, to get the bipartisan support for this common sense measure. It's not going to be easy because we have a lot of politicians in California that are light on the criminals. They really do water things down. But I think that this is a tragedy that speaks to why the law needs to be changed on these hit and run accidents, particularly where there's a suspicion of the abuse of substances. Any final thoughts for people on this issue?
Just do the right thing. Don't be selfish. Life matters. And if it would have made a whole difference to the family if you would have stopped and at least tried to help him, it would have helped a little better, little more of a closure. So it's selfish.
Aubrey, again, thank you for not just seeing this as a tragedy, but as an opportunity to do something good for your community by fighting to change the laws so that future victims of crime can get justice. Aubrey Pinkston, we're going to be working closely with you in the coming years to pass this law, Austin's law, to enhance the penalties and hopefully serve as a deterrent for this sort of behavior going forward. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I want to encourage you to take a page from Aubrey. She's not sitting on the sidelines in California. She's getting in the fight. And so if there are issues that you think my office can help address through the introduction of a law, I'm happy to hear them and consider them and lead on them. So please go to our website, reformcalifornia.org. Reformcalifornia.org. Contact me with an idea that you think should be put into law. We've got enough crazy laws in California. It's time to have common sense laws. But I can only do that with your help. Show me the areas where California's existing laws are inadequate, and we will fight to fix those problems. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.